Alright, so YouTube's eminent fuckwit, Lord and Savior, was just doing a live stream, and I specifically heard him say he was going to stay on for about 8 to 10 more minutes, and about 2 minutes later, after he had said some complete and total ignorant nonsense about science can't prove or explain why the corona of the sun is hotter than the actual convection surface of the sun, and there's all kinds of scientific ways of explaining it. There's theories, and just because they haven't explained it doesn't mean that they won't. But this is for him automatically a reason why the center of the sun is a hollow core and there's a prison there and all this other crap. The Galactic Federation of Lies. So the thing is, I went ahead and sent a thing on his chat because I wasn't blocked on that one yet. I am now. But all I sent was that the nuclear fusion occurs in the very center of the sun because of the gravity. Gravity exerts pressure. The fusion occurs. There's a longer theory to it, but of course, chat space can't fit it. And so anyways, this know-nothing, numbskull, know-it-all, nincompoop, ninny, had said that, that there's no way of explaining, and I very easily explained that the photons take 100 years from being released in the fusion reaction. They take 100,000 years, I should say, 100,000, to reach the outside of the sun's surface, because they got to ping pong and pinball around pachinko style, and photons don't bounce, they absorb and emit. So anyways, I said this, and then I lost connection on my internet, and then the stream is over. So I'm going to go ahead and attribute that to myself, that the kiosk showed up one last time at DTI to be like, you're wrong, and here's why. So, so anyways, yeah, just, I'm sure that live stream, like all the rest of them, is going to be a gold mine for others to make fun of. It's always fun. Unfortunately, that douche nozzle gets his name out every time, but whatever. Destroying the anus, that's all it is. The guy's fucking everybody. Himself, too. He doesn't realize it, I don't think. So anyways, yeah, it's really fucking simple. The center of the sun is not hollow. The reason is that the mass of the sun, by its diameter, accounts for a certain number of hydrogen atoms and the other atoms of other heavier elements that have come about of that cloud that became the sun. So we know that once the space around a large enough cloud has a significant dimple, it begins to gather in the center. As it begins to rotate, it begins to pull inward. As it pulls inward, the denser something is, the stronger its gravity, its effect on space-time is. So if a cloud of gas is just floating through space, does not have the same kind of gravitational potential as a spinning, rotating cloud of gas. And in space is all fluids, which gas is technically a fluid, right? It is something that fills the space that it is put into. Conforms to the shape of it, right? That's a fluid. So gas being a fluid in a vacuum of no gravity, right, outer space, it's going to assume a roughly spherical shape eventually, with possibly a bulge at the middle, because all rotating objects, due to centrifugal force, pull outward at the center, or outward at the outer edges and inward at the center. So in the sun's case, what this means is that the inward pull causes fusion. The outward spin causes a planetary disk. Planetary nebula becomes protoplanets, becomes planets. The planets clear out all the other debris, finalizing the mass of the worlds. And then, the planets may dance a little bit, depending on what the best possible, resonance of orbits is. And so anyways, as this is all happening with planets inside the sun, that mass of gas just gets denser and denser as the core spins faster than the outside, and centrifugal force pulls, fusion begins. Actually, they found through some quantum physics, what they call quantum tunneling, they found that the likelihood is that quantum physics is all about tendency, probability, likelihood. They don't talk about this is what, because that whole uncertainty principle, it's kind of funny, it's a theme. Butterfly. But the gas itself does not actually have to condense to sufficient density to begin fusion, if there is enough gas and it's already begun the inward fall, it's trapped in the gravity well, there's a quantum physical principle called quantum tunneling, which says that the likelihood is there's a chance it could happen. Scientists believe that our sun actually began fusion ignition long before the gravity and the mass crushing in on itself was actually enough to start fusion chain reaction. But it did, because it was going to anyway. Because how we experience our time in the universe is not necessarily the only way to experience it, nor is it necessarily the definitive explanation for how the universe works. So, if it's one of those things where timelines can be, rewound or fast forwarded, then it was already given that our sun was going to form there. The likelihood was simply there, and so it occurred. That's the way quantum physics works. So you want to talk about quantum gravity, PBS space-time, that's an example of it at work right there. You just can't document it or prove it yet. It doesn't mean it's not real. See, that's the problem. You got these fuckwits on the outside of the fringe being like, just because science can't prove it means it's not real. And then you got these fuckwits on the dead center core, to keep the theme and the metaphor, the motif of the core of the sun, right? You got people that are in the scientific community that are also, they just will ignore a concept unless it can be proven, which is just as ignorant. So anyways, I'm going to wrap it up, but that's the gist of it. The sun's solar fusion core takes a long time for light to get out of it. There is no hollow center to it. And the simplest explanation on a hypothetical level that I can come up with for why the corona is warmer than the core is that the core is much denser, and in certain instances of density, there can only be so much infrared released because of the space in between. That is the Pauli exclusion principle being bumped up against. So, there's a decent chance that the real reason the inner part of the sun on its surface, as it were, it doesn't have a surface, but on the so-called surface of the sun is being cooler than the corona is more because the corona is being baked by the photons coming out of the sun, and the center itself is so dense that there isn't room for a temperature increase. And if you don't understand what that means, then you don't understand anything about particle physics, about thermodynamics, which means you definitely don't understand enough to try and say that the core of the fucking sun is hollow, you nitwit.